figure out where I've seen you. And then later on, I realized it's you, but without the hat.
Yes, exactly. You know, everyone tells me, why do you wear a hat? And I have no answer. I just started with the hat, and now it's like, how many episodes? Almost 200 episodes.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Yes, thanks. Yeah, 200 episodes wearing a hat. So it's a character. But then when I go out, people like doesn't know me as much as they know me with the hat. But I don't wear a hat in
real life.
In real life, yeah. So I don't know what to do. Everyone said, "Oh, take the hat. We think you don't have hair." I said, "No, I have hair. It's fine."
I think challenge for the next 100 episodes.
Yeah.
No hat.
What do you think? You should take it off?
Do what you like. You
Yeah.
know? But it's if anything, it shows you how a garment could be associated to somebody to an extent that you don't get realized and you don't get recognized. So,
yes, exactly.
Yeah, the power of fashion is incredible.
And people like identity as well, story.
Completely.
Yeah, and it's just like you can't invent something without having a story behind it. It has to be authentic and relatable to people.
For sure.
So, and here, I mean, you opened the subject.
Yeah.
Thanks for inviting me to your event. It was such an amazing event. Very hickey. The outdoor and everything, it blends perfectly with the garment you did, with the brand you created. So since we started talking about it, tell me, where did you inspire the story from?
Well, firstly, thank you for coming. It was really nice to see you there and to see everybody there. This has been something that's been on the works for us for the last 5 years. So we started to think about creating this brand in 2018. And in 2018, I remember my brother and sister and I, we were in a holiday. We were in the south of France and in the south of Italy. And we were just thinking together, like, what are we going to do for the rest of our lives? And, you know, one thing that I have that I think my brother and sister have as well is we are almost obsessed with the idea of self-actualization. And, you know, in simple terms, self-actualization is to just simply reach your highest potential. And, you know, we were just thinking about what we're going to do. And, you know, the problem with trying to seek any help online or through people is, you know, finding the word passion and what you're passionate for is really put on a pedestal. Right, to a point where it should be this aha, eureka moment. So I sat down and I said, look, it can't be that difficult. So let me do a really, really simple exercise. Let's list everything that we love and let's list everything that we think we're good at. And we did this really, really simple exercise. And I think in less than 10 minutes, we're like, yep, we need to create a fashion brand. And we need to do something as siblings. And we need to create this project because this is something that, anyway, fashion's been a huge part of our lives. It's been a huge part of us growing up. You know, I remember every time we travel, and travel's been a big part of my life ever since I was a child, you know. Every country that we would go to, the first thing that we would do is we would go and we would see what the local designers have that we don't have in Dubai. And we could do that for days without necessarily buying anything. We're just interested to know what we don't have in Dubai. So it felt so organic, natural, and it just happened. Yeah.
I mean, you said something amazing. It's just how to find the highest potential of yourself. And when you search, you always search outside your what you like, outside your area, and you think it's somewhere else. But actually, you look at what you love and what you really admire, and we normally look outside just because we want to compare or we want to see the end result of things, and where any idea doesn't start from the end result. It starts from the beginning, and it needs that hard work to do, but we're always looking at the end result and the polished final product, and we want to compare ourselves to that, and then we can't do it. But when you looked inside and you said, okay, what do we love? And each one of you told you, how did you come up at this fashion brand? You love traveling, you love looking at different culture and what they do, each individual. And tell me about your brother and sister. What what do they love from inside, and as a family you created this brand, so
Yeah.
what did you ask them?
Really basic questions. We sat down and we looked at what do we love, and absolutely everything that we love was either fashion, related to fashion, or aesthetics. And I'm a very visual person by nature. I think I've always been that way. And with my sister's a designer.
Yes.
Me and my brother are, on paper at least, the quite opposite of what a designer is. We're both into finance and into insurance specifically. So we've really used a muscle that I think we haven't really utilized to the best of our ability, which is our creative side. And the minute that we started to utilize that, I try to put myself as much as possible into doing and seeing everything that can just expand my creative horizon. I've also been lucky enough that I don't just have one, but we have two artists in my house. My sister's an artist. She's a graphic designer by trade, and my mother's a painter and a general artist. Like, she's done mainly oil painting, but she's done pottery. She's done mosaic glass designs. So I had tons of inspiration in the house. And when I look at me, my brother and sister, we're very similar in many ways, but we're very different in so many ways. Like, for example, I'm more, I would say, aggressive, more like naturally born leader, whereas my brother is more of not laid back, but he's more of a thinking person. Like, he's almost too academic for his own good. He would be someone that has tons and tons and tons of theory on something, but wants to understand it in such a profound way before actually going out to do it. Whereas I'm more around, well, who cares about 10 pages? Let's just go.
Yeah, you want to take the action
and see what it's like and draw our own conclusions. And my sister's kind of a mix of both. And when I look at all of our skill sets complement so well. We disagree on many things. We agree on so many things. But even when we disagree in a very
healthy way.
And we actually use it to our advantage, because if someone agrees with me, that's the end of the road of where you could maximize potential in a particular subject. But if somebody disagrees with you, then they force you into a state where you have to seriously consider where that person is coming from. And it also makes you seriously consider how you feel about that subject and how strongly you feel about that subject. And the end result of that is you end up growing in that particular discussion. So me, my brother and sister, we have a lot of areas where we disagree, and we come out on the other side thinking a lot bigger than we did going into it. So that's kind of the dynamic that we have between the two.
Because you need somebody to have an opinion. I mean, that's when somebody disagree with you, it means he has an opinion. And sometimes you are also want to look to somebody from a different perspective who has a different idea. And we, as all leaders, they want to have somebody to disagree, because it will make you rethink of what you really maybe have a doubt about, or you want to just really sharpen your ideas.
Absolutely.
And if everyone says yes to you, it's a problem.
I get nervous if I'm in a room with people that just agree with me on everything. I'm like, no, something is wrong here.
Yes, exactly.
Either I'm too scary, which I don't think I scare anyone, but people are not telling me something, right? So I definitely prefer to be in a place with opinionated people. But of course, it's a tool with a double-edged sword. It could go the other way as well and become a very unproductive and toxic exercise. But thankfully, with my family, we are able to get the best out of our differences and really kind of push each other to grow and look at things from a much wider point of view. So no, I'm incredibly blessed. And to be honest, I mean, it's no secret, I've been very, very close to my siblings for as far as I can remember. I think the last fight any of us got into is when we were very, very young children. So growing up, we had the three of us very, very close, which kind of made my parents a bit nervous. Like, what are they planning? What are they up to? But, for the most part, it's just been, we're able to agree and disagree in a very healthy way. And the household in general that I grew up in, we have a lot of respect for each other in so many ways. Like, we respect each other's space. We're very close. We do everything together, but then we respect everyone's space. We respect everyone's privacy, and we're very calm and laid back people. So working with them was so easy.
Yeah, Hassan, tell me, Hassan or Hassan?
Hassan,
but it's double S.
It's a double S, but it's Hassan.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
just been that way.
All right, because there is Hassan and it's written the same way.
That's triple S.
Triple S. Okay, and you named the brand Elamins.
Yeah.
Which is Al-Amin with a
plural,
which is stunning because it just says the family name, and this is something that puts some responsibility on your shoulder, because
Absolutely.
like if you are making a brand with your family name, you definitely need to put perfect hard work and ideas. I've seen the fashion show you've done, and it's stunning. It's new, it's simple, it's futuristic, but it's wearable as well, because sometimes we go futuristic but you cannot wear it. But this one is like, it's so simple yet it's sophisticated. The fabric is sophisticated. I'm not into fashion in a way like it's so wild, but I can see myself in this fashion because it is white or gray or black. It's the colors are subtle, but the design is like complicated by the fabric, by the ideas, the neck, the what do you call these? I don't know, neck or it's amazing, and the inspiration of the design, where it come from. Okay, it's creative, but there is an inspo happening from somewhere.
Yeah. Well, in general, what we were planning on doing is we wanted to create clothing that was versatile. You could style it up or down, functional. You could easily wear it, and a slightly different take on your everyday sort of just white shirt, right? And, this has been like a consistent kind of idea that we've had since 2018. And, one of the things that we were thinking is today, for example, if you look at our daily lives, not just today, but over the last 5 years, our daily lives are incredibly busy, and if, for example, someone was to go to dinner, right, it's most likely going to be after work, right? If someone was going to go to an event, it's most likely going to be after work. Now, is it, realistic that people can kind of go to work, have their attire, go home and change, and then go back out again? Most people want one outfit that they could wear from day to night, be functional, comfortable, and still look fantastic, right? So that was our idea all along. And I think, in terms of timing, it probably couldn't have worked out at a better time, because over the last, I would say, couple of years, particularly from around COVID, there was a change in consumer behavior where people wanted to invest in pieces that were more timeless. Something that you could wear today, something you could wear 10 years from now. And really kind of timeless statement pieces that you can kind of pull out anytime that you want. And then that inevitably led to a boom which is currently called the quiet luxury boom, where pieces are very understated and but are expensive and meticulously made and beautifully made. And so it couldn't have come at a better time, and really timing is everything. You have brilliant ideas, brilliant ideas that never really saw the light of day just because their timing was off. And you've had other ideas that were considered completely crazy, but they were at the perfect time, So I'm very, very happy with the timing. Now, in terms of design, I am a very visual person by nature, same thing with, my brother and sister. And I look at inspiration everywhere, not just in clothes. I look at inspiration in cars. I look at inspiration in buildings. I look at inspiration in architecture, in roads, in any kind of infrastructure gives me a creative, influence. And, when I look at all of my influences, I like this idea of, having complex things that are done and put together in the most abnormally clear and concise point, and to really just make it a very, very simple finishing that's easy for people to understand. But if you look into the fabric and you look into the composition of the construction of the design, it's quite complex. And I am in general a huge fan of any kind of construction. Like, I think I'm an architect in my other life. I really like construction of anything. Construction of how's a car built, how's a building made, how are roads done, what do construction projects really look like, and I really look at people who perfect these crafts as like real artisans, right? Because it takes an incredible amount of creativity to be able to put a complex design into reality, right? And on the subject of clothes, one of the biggest inspirations I think I've had in fashion, ironically, was a fashion designer that's not anywhere near our current timeline, and it was Cristobal Balenciaga, who was actually the founder of Balenciaga, and he was notoriously, infamous for being a genius when it comes to constructing garments. And he's constructed garments in a way, and they were all women's garments. So, it was nothing for me personally, but it was just, you look at these garments and they just have presence that is at the time completely unheard of. And he was also notorious for not doing any sketches and not creating any pattern. He would just take a piece of fabric and he would feel it. And just from feeling a fabric, he would know what is the best way in order to construct this fabric and make it very appealing for a woman's body. And, it's just brilliant. So a lot of the stuff that I've been inspired by have been from what he does. So amongst, so many other things.
Yeah, and Balenciaga actually broke the rules and put trends. And I mean, he created this. I know about the shoes more. So he created these shoes and everybody followed, like everyone followed that, crazy design, very, very brave ideas that he put. I always have this question, is how to combine creativity with the success, because creativity is something that you have to create and it's usually new, and anything new is not proven. If you want to do a building, you have to use some methods and something that has been proven, and anytime you want to break that rule is you being creative. So breaking the rule is creative, but it's taking the risk as well, because if you are inventing something, you might have tried 100 things and didn't work out, and then one thing will be creative and functional. It's hard to be creative if you're a businessman. Like a businessman, he will hire creative people. Once they succeed with the 100 trial and error and this, and if he tested that creative part, if it's functional, then it will happen. How do you balance between creativity, and you're a businessman, and functionality and success in general in life? It's a wide, not maybe about the fashion, but anything creative is not being proven. It's new. If it's proven, then it's not new.
I think it's a great question. And for me, this was actually something that I was saying recently. I think every single person is capable of being creative. The only difference between how creative you are is how big is your problem. You know, you will be amazed at how creative people can get when their back is against the wall and they need to think of a solution.
100%.
It is incredible. And one of the things that, you know, I'm trying to do here and want to do, you know, going forward in my life is, you know, whenever I get into any kind of project, I want to really think that my back is against the wall and that the consequences are grave if I don't do this right. And I want to pretend, at least in my head, that I have $0 in my bank account and I'm completely broke, right? And the times that you are in a situation where your back is against the wall and you have to be creative, the level of creativity is incredible. And it's really simple. I mean, so many people work really well under pressure for that reason. It might not feel nice to work under pressure.
I think all of us.
Absolutely. So everyone. So I think, you know, if you have a failure to take a creative concept and turn it into a successful concept, I think what you're lacking is a really, really strong why. And you're lacking something that doesn't have big enough consequences to do it. Because if you get into something and if it doesn't work out, it's okay. You know, I wake up tomorrow, I do something else. If you have that mindset, you are almost, you know, immediately destined to fail because it's just simply not important enough for you. So I think the trick is to make it, you know, monumentally important. And then once that is monumentally important and it starts to make your way, you know, its way into your sleep and that's all you could think about. And, you know, you become obsessed with this has to work. I have to make this work. I have to find a way to make this work. Then your own creativity will amaze you.
Hassan, we don't do it because we love comfort zone.
Of course.
Comfort zone, it keeps us, you know, in a place where we don't want to change. It's just like, you know, it's too risky. And look at Corona, what it did. You know, Corona have pushed people to come up with new things, new ideas. And some people, they left their job and then it was like the best thing they did ever. It's just like it was a disaster that happened to the world. And then they put them against the wall. And they came up with so many things. They didn't know that they have that. I mean, I've created the podcast from Corona. You know, because I was like, okay, there's no work, no jobs, what to do? And I was like, okay. So my mind was thinking in a different way that I haven't thought about it. Like I was like, I wish I did this long time ago. I didn't think about it. It didn't initiate that fire or trigger. I mean, I was searching. I was, you know, working hard all the time. But the level of creativity that created like me under pressure, it created, you know, another perspective to me. So I'm 100% with you. Like if we are pushed, if we can push ourselves, I mean, we don't have to wait for another Corona, but that's the part where brave people take risks and, you know, and they can be creative, you know.
You know, self-discovery is a beautiful thing. You know, you have a lot of people that think that, I want to be an entrepreneur one day, you know, and try entrepreneurship and realize that it's just not for them. And it doesn't make them less intelligent. There's tons of highly intelligent people that work 9 to 5s. Actually, there's, statistically speaking, more intelligent people tend to work 9 to 5s than be entrepreneurs. So the only way to really know what's for you is to try. And the more you put yourself in uncomfortable positions, the more you're going to figure out more about who you really are. So self-discovery is a beautiful thing.
And how do you know if you're an entrepreneur or no? It's a question maybe people doesn't know. Even people who are entrepreneurial, they might not know that they are not entrepreneurial kind of thinking and working.
To be honest, the real simple answer is if you think that it's for you, then you've got to do it. And if you do it and you're still convinced that this is for you, then it's for you. Because a lot of the times we think that something is for us. We think that we want something, and then we actually go pursue it and realize that actually no, this is not for me. I'm looking for stability. I'm looking for far less stress. Like this really isn't for me. So and for me myself, I'll find out as well. Like I don't claim to have all of the answers, and I'm figuring out things as I go along. But being an entrepreneur is something that I've always wanted to be. I've been fortunate to have an amazing career that I've been very, very entrepreneurial with. So I'll discover more and more as I go along. But it's just overall, it's a project I'm so excited about.
Yeah, I mean, you answered it by like, if you're happy, but sometimes the ego comes and say, okay, I'm an entrepreneur. You might be not happy, but just you are trying. You just want to do it.
Oh yeah.
The ego like kills sometimes.
The ego, but you have to see what is fueling your ego, and I think it's the our natural tendency to draw comparisons with people. Like look at Filan, he's got a business, or look at this person, they've got this, but you don't know if they're truly happy or not. You don't know what that means to them. You don't know how it makes them feel, and these are the things that you're going to have to try yourself and see how it makes you feel. So it's you have to get out there and you have to put things into practice, because theory alone and thinking that you want something or thinking that you know something, you get put to the test in a completely different way once you're out there and you're doing it.
And the wrong image and the social media is just like, it can really give you a totally different idea on how how long it takes and how hard and how happy they are. I mean, they look happy to you maybe, and not every entrepreneur is happy or successful. Maybe it just looked polished, and there's so many
completely it's a natural tendency for people to look at the end product and revere it, the shiny things, the accolades and all of that, and say, wow, that's a wonderful life. But the real beauty is in everything that came in between. And if you don't look at the things that have come in between fondly, and you've created wonderful stories that you're one day going to tell to your grandchildren, then what's it worth?
Yes. Hassan, tell me more about your background since you were a child. You came from Sudan? You born in Sudan?
I was born there, but at the time we were living in Canada. So my mom flew back to be with her mom. And I lived in Canada for the first 7 years of my life, and then I moved to Dubai as a young child. So it's pretty much been Dubai for me practically ever since. And I studied in the UK. I moved to London for 3 years, and that's where I did 2 master degrees. So I'm a Sudanese person that grew up in Canada and in Dubai and studied in the UK. So I really feel like I'm not from anywhere in particular.
International.
Yeah, I have a really global mindset, and I don't really look at myself like I'm from anywhere. I've always had that. I'm not going to say identity crisis, but I've had the modern day, I guess, problem of someone that doesn't feel like he's from anywhere in particular. But I think the most place that I feel a belonging to is Dubai. Dubai to me is really home. I was here from the very, very early days when it was a much, much smaller place, and I've seen how crazy the development has been over the last 30, 40 years. So Dubai is really my home. I went to school here, and I had a really happy childhood, I would say. I've been fortunate enough to have a really happy childhood.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. But now you're becoming more famous, and you will find out that people are maybe reaching to you, or maybe seeing you as a influencer person to them, and that's why I want to talk about Sudanese, maybe probably happy for you and asking you questions, and this is a beautiful culture, and I love to look at empower each culture and also believe in our Arabic culture, you know, because it needs that push and empowerment, because we didn't believe in ourselves, you know. I think social media helped us a lot to discover each other and to see that in Saudi Arabia, in Kuwait, in Dubai, in Sudan, there's so many beautiful talents, beautiful cultures, and it's like we became closer. And I feel like I'm sure you have a responsibility and to give back, or you know, to support.
Yeah. You know, actually, funny you say that. One of the things that I realized recently of living in Dubai and what that does is Dubai, if you think of it, is one of the very few places on earth where all of the different Arabs live in one place. And I realized that when I had my cousin, actually, who flew in from Sudan. This was, of course, you know, long before the current situation, but he flew over and he was sitting with me in the car, and I bumped into one of my Emirati friends. And we're speaking in Arabic, and my friend was, you know, saying hi to my cousin and how are you and how's everything, and my cousin just looked extremely awkward, you know, like he saw a ghost. He was just frozen. And the minute my friend left, he just looked over at me and said, I didn't understand a word he said. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, what language was that? Is that Arabic? I'm like, yeah, well, you didn't understand the word? He's like, I didn't understand the word. And then I thought of it, and I'm like, of course he didn't understand the word. Where would he hear that dialect? You know, and the same thing goes for, you know, Moroccans and for Algerians.
Yes, of course.
And the same thing goes for, if you're not exposed to that, you're just not going to know. And it's actually amazing, like, you know, as an Arab person myself, you know, I could tell who's Lebanese and who's Syrian, you know, and who's, you know, just by the first one or two words that come out of their mouth. And I think that's something that many people don't have. So living in Dubai is great. It's given us that diversity amongst Arabs as well. And I think also a lot of people don't understand how diverse Arab culture is. It is so diverse, and it's such a big region. You know, the Middle East and North Africa region is so diverse. Yet we all share one language, so it's pretty remarkable.
Yes.
But yeah, you know, it's Dubai is one of the very few places that all the Arabs kind of live together in one place. There's not many other cities like that.
100%. And it brought us back together in a way, because once you're in your country, you think the world is around your country. I mean, and everybody like is totally different, you know, or far away, or they think differently. And Dubai, it's kind of brought us together in a way, and made us international, as you mentioned before, you know, is international, but also appreciating each and every difference that we have, each and every culture, and you kind of like, it's nice to feel that, okay, everyone loves his country, but it's nice to feel like how close we are to each other, and how we are all human, and we share so many things together. You don't see that once you are in a very close country, you know, you don't see it. You need to, I think living in an international city helps, and social media helped a lot as well, to see how beautiful people are with their differences.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, you know, now probably more than ever, any form of diversity is so celebrated. You know, of course, not everyone is like that, but a lot of people are now like that, you know, especially people like Gen Z. You know, they've everyone really, you know, enjoys each other's diversity. And I think it's, you know, social media definitely helped. And I think that, you know, today when I look at Dubai and I look at, you know, the influencers that we have in Dubai and the businesses that we have in Dubai, one of the things that, you know, I love seeing is how all of the content creators, influencers, you know, businesses are now transcending from just Dubai-based, you know, regional to real global having a real global kind of outreach. And what I like is that it's very consistent with Dubai as a city. Dubai as a city has always, been after kind of the regional hub championship, so to speak. And now they've got their eyes set on a much bigger goal, which is to be a global hub, which I truly believe is possible. And it's really nice to see that, content creators, local businesses have all kind of, just stepped up to the plate, and going after a global audience as well. So it's really nice to see. And I think that, as an Arab world, I think that, we've done great things, but I think that we could do a lot more, and I think that we haven't self-actualized yet, like, for example, this is something that I've learned in fashion over the last, 4 or 5 years. We had a consultant, a fashion consultant, and we were having a conversation, and one of the comments that was made to us was, don't say that this brand is from Dubai. Make it kind of international, because at the time we were producing in the UK. So the suggestion was made of, why don't you say that you're a UK-based brand? And I remember sitting, thinking, okay, this is complete nonsense. I don't buy into that idea. And the reason was, a lot of the consumers, particularly in Europe, for example, wouldn't take a Middle Eastern ready-to-wear brand as seriously as a European brand. So, and then I've started to see a lot of other businesses that were here from the region, that would have addresses in the UK, that would have a WhatsApp number, which is like a pay-as-you-go number in France or in the UK, just so that they look international. And to me, it was really, really crazy. But I go back to the timing issue. I think now more than ever, the world is looking into the Middle East as, that they're starting to realize just the extent of how much this place has to offer, and the amount of creativity, our region has to offer. And I would say a lot of the global interest is in the Middle East. So when I go back to the timing issue, I think that, timing-wise, this couldn't have been better for us.
Yes.
Now, I say that, but, we have incredible Middle Eastern designers like, Ali Saab and, people like Zuhair Murad. Like, for example, my wife's dress was from Zuhair Murad. But, they're very much in the couture segment of the business, but we still have not enough, I would say, ready-to-wear Middle Eastern brands that have, kind of made it into the global stage. So
because it's an industry, and the haute couture is more of an artistry. It's just like a handmade.
Completely.
And that's what. So they have to prove, or they have to made it to the international by really, I'm an artist, and that's my work, and I do things as a haute couture. Piece by piece, but to bring back the trust of that we can make it also in the industry of as a quality and pret-a-porter, it's also important. I mean, we had a doubt in ourselves in general in all the Middle East and and the Arab world, because there was no chances or channels that had a voice for us to speak and to express ourselves. And here where I see the benefit of social media, where it made people have a phone, have a TV and a camera, which is a production, and come and speak. Bless you. Come and speak and express and show the talent and force the brands to stop advertising the stereotypes and go to this influencer or that influencer or this curvy model or this dark skin or blonde or short or tall, or she's famous, she became famous, and we have to, you know, go and sell our product through her. And then, okay, so but she's normal, she's not like 180 skinny, you know, like the 90s model stereotype kind of, you know, image that we had before. So I believe because we have opened a channel or a chance or a window to everyone to express themselves and believe in their opinion and their creativity. And that's why everybody's coming back to the Middle East and saying, okay, you know, it's a new culture for us as a European or American. It's just something, okay, we have a lot. There's history, there is power maybe of purchase, and there's so many things. And it's not only the money, you know, it's just like there's a culture, there is talent, there is so many things that we can invest and believe in. And so I think it started from the window that was opened and us believing in ourselves as Saudi Arabia, as Sudanese, as, you know, Lebanese, Egyptian, everyone is equal, you know.
Completely, you know. And I think that, you know, when people today look towards their interest in Dubai or their interest towards the Middle East, of course, you know, the glitz and the glam is one part of it. But I think what a lot of people in the international community are starting to realize that beyond the glitz and the glam, you know, people that live in Dubai, work in Dubai, from Dubai, are interesting and creative people and hardworking people. You know, like I've been saying this a very long time. You know, I travel a lot. I don't go to many countries, frankly, any countries, where the average person works as hard as the average person in Dubai. You know, like you would see rush hour in other countries that would start at, you know, around 5, and, you know, people kind of go to do their 9 to 5s and leave. But in Dubai, the amount of people that go beyond the average, that go the extra mile, is actually remarkable. And they do it without expecting anything in return. You know, they do it just because their integrity is high. So the amount of people that work really hard here is far higher, I would say, than most other people. But in my view, that really comes out of necessity. Because if you look at the amount of people per capita, you know, where Dubai is a very competitive place, you know, highly competitive place. And what that results in is your average person is far more business savvy than your average person elsewhere. You know, like if you were to speak to any old, you know, average Joe on the street in, I don't know, any other country, the business savviness and the creativity that you would have from someone who lives in Dubai and has been in Dubai for a long time is noticeably higher. You know, I don't want to sound like I'm
100%.
You know,
listen,
yeah.
I mean, I've tested this you know, in my business. Whenever I had some jobs outside the countries, and it's like people are chilled there, you know.
Extremely.
Here, if you don't answer your email, there's a problem, you know.
Absolutely.
And depends how we are in a highway, like full speed Formula One race, you know. And it's crazy. I don't know if this is something, to be honest, good in life or bad. I'm 100% in business. It's very good. But how did you, let me bring a question. How did you find love in this business race and in Dubai? Because that's a question like everybody asks, you know, in Dubai. And I think somebody said, is there a love in Dubai? You know, because there's so many successful people, there's so many, you know, like business savvy and passion and fashion and love.
You know, I think of course most people that come here are, of course, very career centric, and, you know, they've come looking for better lives. They've come you know, attracted by the glitz and the glam of Dubai. They've come because they see, you know, what an incredible place this is, and what it can offer them in terms of opportunity. But to be honest with you, I don't see that makes finding love more or less complicated. I think finding love anywhere is complicated. And anyway, I'm a genuine believer that love and marriage is nasib. You can try as much as you can to find Mr. or Mrs. Right, but if you don't have the nasib, it just won't happen. I mean, you could definitely go and get married to anybody and just have children and go about life in a very kind of passive way. But if you want a truly fulfilling relationship where you feel loved and you love infinitely and you grow together, then it comes down to nasib.
Mona said in my podcast that you don't find love, you build love. And do you believe in that? Is it something that we have to look for it, or it's something that we have to decide to build it?
I think love definitely grows. So for sure, I see where she's coming from with her point. Love definitely grows. Love definitely evolves. But there's also a great extent of finding love. I think the notion that you can kind of build love with anyone, is perhaps, I don't know. To me, it's a concept that, like I can't build love with anyone. I need to have that first spark. I need to have the chemistry. I need to have the attraction. I need to see her from across the room and think, who is she? And stalk her for 2 weeks. I need that, right? And I think, women alike, they need that initial spark. But for me, the real question begins after you believe you found love. Because, love is essentially a foundation in order for you to start and sustain a relationship, right? So for me, the real question is how do you, what are the things that you need to do in order to sustain a healthy relationship? Like, there's been tons of people that I am sure have been, madly in love. The type of love that you would say happens once in a lifetime, but they've had very short-lived relationships. Now I don't question that the love was genuine, but clearly the latter portion of it, which is how do you maintain a relationship, is just not working. And I think that that's really the $1 million question. And I think once you figure that out, then when you are fortunate enough to find love, then you can take it and create a beautiful relationship and a healthy and lasting relationship. Because love on its own is like hard work with no results.
Yeah.
It's this emotion, but it doesn't really have a destination. And I think we have to take that emotion and then put it on a roadmap and then create a destination. So
yeah, and you need to see what actually you are loving, which part, not the physical part, which part of a person you're loving.
I mean, that too. As well.
But maybe because sometimes we love because we need to love for ourselves, and sometimes we don't love the person, we love ourselves. So you need to look what kind of love because I think people who love so much, it's maybe they love themselves as well, and they need the love. A mature love is when you love the person, but you love the values in that person that relate to you as a child, or as a what you think. And of course you should love the face and then the everything else, and the way they talk as them as a person. But I believe if you find the values in that person, because that's the foundation that you can start with.
Absolutely. I think an alignment on core values is one of many different things that you need. But I think that even when you do align on core values, and you have the attraction and you have that spark and you have all of these great things, you still then have to do the work in order for you to create a relationship that is long lasting and is healthy. So I think there's no escape. You've got to do the work, I don't, I'm very new to the game of marriage. I'm only 2.5 years in. And, every time I speak to some of, our married friends, and they're like, you've been married 2.5 years? Oh, still have no idea what you're doing, So I'm an amateur in the game for sure. But, in my short time, I would say, of being married, I've kind of come up with, a number of principles that, just really basic principles that I think that if you do really, really well, you can conquer the vast majority of any kind of problems that come across in a relationship. The first is communication. Like obviously you have to have the foundation of love. So if you look at it as kind of a triangle, the foundation is love, but the first thing is communication. I don't mean to be like a relationship guru or anything, but
I mean, if you crack the code, that's amazing. I'm just waiting for the answer. That's amazing.
Maybe we'll stop doing Elamins and I'll start becoming a businadman in the love industry.
I don't know if Mona will agree on that, because they'll have queues of women asking you for advice.
I think she agrees with a lot of these things as well. I think when you look at love as a foundation, you have first communication, right? And it's such a simple but important concept. You would be amazed at how many people get that completely wrong, and I'm not claiming to be perfect. I mean, I'm literally, figuring out my way along all of these things and looking at how I could do them better. But communication is key, and you and your partner have to be able to communicate. And, as a sub point of communicating, you have to be able to disagree in a respectful and, in a civil manner. Because, if you disagree and every time you disagree, it's full-blown nuclear war, then, it's just going to dent other parts of communication, because you're going to think, that every time I try to communicate, it leads to this massive fight, so I'm not going to communicate anymore, so I'll maintain peace. But then what you realize is that you're tucking a whole bunch of issues under the rug, and then eventually one day it blows up. So first and foremost, I think it's communication, good communication. Secondly, I think the ability to form a partnership, and the ability to form a partnership, like really be yin and yang, really bring out the best in each other, really knowing, what this person is good at and what that person is bad at, and just working together and having a set of objectives and achieving them. And I think, just that alone, knowing how to have a partnership is, when I look at, for example, people in our parents' generation, they've survived incredibly difficult things. They've survived emotional, physical abuse. They've, tons of crazy things, right, that would be unheard of in relationships nowadays. But they've still maintained a partnership. They understand what their respective roles are, and they do them well as a team. So I think the ability to form a partnership is
definitely empower each other.
Absolutely. And then, third is mutual respect. You have to be mutually respectful. If you do things that, disrespect your partner, either intentionally or unintentionally, then it's just going to build resentment. And all of the other work that you've done could just come crashing down like dominoes. So, mutual respect. And last but not least, have a good time. Have a good time. A lot of us, sometimes would demand that, our partner, like, no, you have to spend time with me. We have to go here. We have to go there. We have to do this together. But a lot of us don't look at ourselves and ask ourselves a very simple question, like, what is spending time with myself like? Like, you have to be, a good time. And the minute that you're a good time, spending time with you is effortless, and it's an enjoyable endeavor. And so one thing I would give advice, and I'm trying to be like that as much as I can. I'm trying to be a good time. I am a good time all the time. I always try and make jokes, and I just I try and be as much of a good time as possible. So I think if I do these basic things right, then I think we could overcome most issues. So in my very short space of time in marriage, this is kind of
it's stunning.
my key points.
Honestly, it's amazing. It needs a lot of experience, which you're young, and I don't know where did you get it from. Where you and Mona met? I have to ask you about Mona. Come on.
So I've known Mona such a long time. I've known her. She went to university with my sister Sally, and I remember Sally in university was telling me, like, there's this stunning girl that is in university with us. Her name is Mona. She looks like, she looks like a doll. She's so beautiful. And I've always wanted to see her. And then I saw her, and I've had like the biggest crush on her. And then we have a mutual friend of ours, Fatima, who, one day messaged me and said, are you single? And, I said, it depends who's asking. She's like, what do you think of Moni? And then I was like, oh, gosh, okay. And then I think, I messaged her right away. And 1 year later, we went out for coffee. And 1 year later, we were married.
Wow.
Yeah. So it happened so easy. And what's interesting of this story is where I was at in my life at the time. So before Mona, I was single for many, many years. Many, many years. And I really enjoyed my own company, and I really was, I had a set of expectations. I said, I'm not just going to be in a relationship for the sake of being in a relationship. I would only be in a relationship if I found an exceptional person. And a lot of people ask me, well, okay, what define an exceptional person?
You raised the bar.
And then, I list out these qualities, and everyone looks at me like, listen, you're nuts. You're like, people like that don't exist. So just stop. You're not gonna find anyone. And I'm like, that's completely fine with me, because a relationship is work. It's a lot of work, and I'm not gonna work for anything that, at least in my mind, is not the start of something that's exceptional. So I've always kind of had these unrealistic, I would say, set of standards. So, and I remember I woke up one morning, and I just had this, really profound realization of the power of what it meant for me to be single. I said, today I look around and I look at my friends. This person's married with children. This person's, married with a big family, and what they could all do is so limited. They can't start that business today. They can't take that trip today. They can't go and follow a passion. They have so many constraints. And I remember sitting there thinking to myself, and believe it or not, that was the first thought I had when I woke up that morning. And I thought to myself that I have to use this time really, really wisely, because I felt like I had like a cheat code in life, that I had this like superpower. So I was like, I need to make use of this. And, I was thinking about that all morning. And then as soon as I got out the shower, I saw a message from Fatima saying, what do you think of Moni? So
they ruined the whole thing.
That party came to an end immediately. But I remember looking at the message, I knew that this will be something that I will have to take seriously, because I know Mona. I've met her before. We actually went to a Drake concert together, and we
what
ended
does it say again?
A Drake concert.
Drake concert.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
I thought the drag.
No. No. We went to a Drake concert in 20, I think it was 2014, 2015, and we ended up chatting like the whole night. She doesn't remember that very well. I'm kind of mad at her, but yeah, we ended up chatting the whole night, and I agreed with her on so many things. So I knew she was an exceptional lady, right? And I remember we went for the first coffee, and it was just, it was so easy from there. 1 year later, we were married.
Yeah, Hassan, I mean, to have that, wiseness and a little bit like self-awareness, you know, that I need to take my time because I can see others is very, very powerful and very important, especially for any young guy or girl, because most of the time and most what happened to us is just like we feel like we want to get married just for the sake of marriage, because around us is like, oh, it's the certain age, is the pressure, is like my friends, and it's a very risky thing to do if you are not ready from inside and you didn't find the right person.
Of course.
But most of the time that's the riskiest thing, is just like, oh, it's time to get married, and that's the age, and that's my friend who I used to go out with, and he's my best friend, and he's already married. So it's a really hard thing to have, or it's a tricky thing, and we all fall in this. So to have this self-awareness is very, very, very lucky, you know, to be, you know, I want to take my time, I want to aim right and get the right person.
Yeah, and I think, you know, one of the things wasn't just, you know, wait for the right person. I was honestly completely fine if that perfect person has never showed up, and I would be single forever. Like it wasn't even an area that I was thinking of. I was so focused on my career, so focused on all of the different things that I wanted to get done, you know, in my life. So for me, it wasn't even something that I was thinking about. So, you know, I genuinely believe in nasib.
Yes,
you know,
but I wanna know. Sorry to interrupt. I wanna know. You didn't have pressure, family, friends, you know, because we want to give to an answer why other people doesn't follow that, you know.
Yeah, no, I did get, you know, the comments here and there, to which, you know, I didn't really care, to be honest. Like, you know, my parents would tell me, you know, when are you getting married? And I'd be like, when I find a wife. You know, when are you gonna find a wife? I don't know. You know, ask God. So for me, it was never anything that I was like, oh, you know, I have this pressure. Never thought, you know, I would actually, you know, I actually never thought I would be married one day. Like,
okay, so it's just...
sometimes when I think like I'm actually married, I'm like, this is pretty crazy, you know, because you know, I never thought that one day I'll be married. You know, I've also had, you know, bad experiences as well, but you know, for me, it was just about, if something is not exceptional, you know, I don't want it.
Yeah.
You know, and
because it's an investment, you know.
Completely. And but this is how I am in every aspect of my life. You know, like quite literally every aspect of my life. It's like, you know, I set, you know, like high standards in my head, which sometimes are, you know,
crazy,
a bit crazy, but you know, sometimes hold me back quite a lot, you know. So I'm not saying it like it's a good thing. It hurts me a lot sometimes, but you know, I only do something if I love it. You know, I'm only with someone if they're exceptional. I'm only, you know, like even for example, like if you look at my wardrobe, you know, my wardrobe was like this big, and I like trimmed it down to like that much, you know. Instead of having, you know, say 1,000 things, and 800 are okay, 150 I like, and 50 I love, I would get rid of 950 and keep 50. I want to love everything that I have, you know. So I'm very much like that in every aspect of my life. So, and it was the same with the relationships. I wasn't going to get into a relationship if, you know, I don't find someone as exceptional as Mona is exceptional, as exceptional comes.
No doubt. But this is also, she is a successful person. She is passionate. She's a rich woman. And this brings me to a question which everybody can ask you, is just like, you're an alpha male, and how you would love to be the provider. You would love to be the man in control. You would love to be, I assume so. And how does this work when you have somebody like Mona? Mona is exceptional. She's a successful woman. She's famous. She's rich. All this. How does it work with you as an alpha male, an Arab man?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, today I am very traditional, I think, in the sense of, I believe in our traditional roles. I believe in traditional masculine roles of, protecting and providing. But what a lot of us see in providing is just the financial element. There is so much more to that point. I obviously try to do both. Now, obviously, with the second part, which is providing, I'm providing for someone who doesn't need to be provided for. But that is a very, very small part, the financial element. There's tons of other things that she needs from me. She needs me to make sure that, she's at her best. She needs me to give her the love and the support to overcome difficult things. She needs me to kind of push her boundaries a little bit so that she could self-actualize, just like I have this standard for myself to self-actualize. I try and make her self-actualize too. Like sometimes, she would tell me like, I've got these plans with KAYALI, and, I would tell her, I think KAYALI can be the biggest brand in the world, and I don't say that just to motivate her, but I genuinely mean it. So, I try to provide for her, emotionally. I try to provide for her way beyond the anybody could do that.
Yes, exactly.
What are your expenses a month? Here you go. End of story.
It's the easiest part.
It's the easiest part. The real challenge is how can I support her emotionally? How can I make sure that I'm her rock? How could I make sure that I give her the love and the support so she could really flourish? So her net worth doesn't change anything. The protect and provide is still something I've got to do, and I'll continue to do.
Oh, that's amazing. Great answer. Okay. You've been in Dubai Bling?
I was, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How was the experience? And do you like to repeat that? And one day we're going to see something, movie or something?
I don't know. I mean, for me, Dubai Bling was a very interesting experience. I remember when Mona decided that, okay, she has to do this. And, when she says she has to do this, it means
yes,
but I have to do it too. So I was like, okay, you owe us. You owe me for the rest of your life. But fine, let's do it. And before watching Dubai Bling, believe it or not, I've never seen a reality show in my life. Not an episode, not a clip, not a 1 minute. So I had no idea what to expect. I just thought to myself, okay, just go there, be yourself, right? And it was a strange experience, of course. I remember the first day walking in on set. I just thought to myself, this is the most insane thing I've ever done in my entire life, and there's cameras.
Yes.
And you don't see the amount of cameras, you've got like 30 plus crew, lighting, stage, and you're,
yeah, how to be yourself in this.
Yeah, I'm like, how do I was very awkward, at the beginning. I was like, good, how are you doing? I'm good, thank you. How are you doing? I was like really, really awkward, and I had to learn like how to, and then of course there's other dynamics of a reality show that I had no idea about, like things like gossiping and drama. And, I remember the first couple of things that happened, like, oh, did you hear? I don't know what said this. And I'm like, oh, wait, I'm supposed to care now? Okay, what do I think about that? Like, it was all new for me, Season 2, I was there like very, very kind of limited, but I think you're going to see a lot more of me in season 3. But overall, it was an experience that overall I would say was positive, and the most thing that I loved about doing Dubai Bling was that it was a very uncomfortable experience. It's an area that I don't understand whatsoever, which is reality TV.
Yes.
And doing it, has put me well out of my comfort zone. And I really felt like I grew, after doing it. I feel like a lot more fearless doing things. So that was a fantastic experience. And I've made good friends.
Who's your best friend? Or the worst?
To be honest, I'm going to give you a really boring answer because I really like all of them.
Mhm.
Like, legitimately, like all of them, you know, Zaina, Safa, Fahad, Ibrahim, like all of them are you know, friends, and I really like and respect all of them. So
Okay,
yeah,
great.
it was an interesting experience.
Yes, it is. And it's hard to be yourself in a reality show in front of all these cameras. So I believe the first episode, that you did, it made you more comfortable for the second episode or the third episode in that case. And it's like being in front of a camera or an interview on a TV. It's not easy. You just want to be yourself, you know.
For sure, you know, and for me it was it wasn't just the pressure of the camera or the pressure of the stage, you know. I've okay, perhaps I haven't been on camera, but you know, I've always been, you know, doing things to a very large audience. I've given presentations to hundreds and sometimes thousands of people. So for me, I never get stage fright. For me, the real challenge was, how do I find areas or topics which are of meaning to me that I could then be my genuine self, you know? That for me was the challenge.
Okay.
Because if I don't find a topic that I genuinely connect on, I can't really pretend to care.
100%.
You know, and that's been, I would say, also a weakness and a strength that I have, is that, you know, keeping appearances is not one of my, you know, strong points. So that's why I don't play poker. I don't have poker face.
Yes.
You
Because
know?
you are put into a many situation and many scenarios, and which you haven't invented this, so you have to react and you have to be genuine to that, which it might not interest you in somehow, you know. It's like, I don't think you're like Brahim can adapt anywhere and he can find the spark in any place, and he loves to be, you know, in these situations that's created. I understand you. You have a calm you know, character, and serious yet fun, but in a different way.
Yeah, and you know, also everyone there, from like the cast to the, you know, production, really helped me kind of you know, get comfortable and stuff like that. So
it's like we've been there. We know.
Yeah, you know, so yeah, I was there for a very limited time in season 2, but you'll be seeing a lot more from me in season 3.
Amazing.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, I want to end this by talking about your watches.
Oh wow.
Oh my god, it's my favorite topic, and you are, oh my god, you're nailing things. It's like, I hate you for that. So where the love of the watches, the stunning watches, like, oh my god, these watches.
Yeah, you know, my love for watches began very, very early. You know, like I've told you all along, I'm a very visual person, and I love things that are beautifully constructed, that are complex, you know, that have like real depth to it, that makes you curious and want to find out more. So you know, I naturally, you know, fell in love with watches, and you know, I've started collecting right after I started my first job. My first watch was actually a Rolex, and then from there things, you know, got really out of hand.
Addicted.
Yeah, it got really out of hand. But I would say over the last year, what I was telling you earlier about myself has kind of translated into my watch collection. And I went from like a bigger collection and just trim down and trim down and trim down and trim down. And now I have very few pieces. But every piece that I have for me is 10 out of 10. Like, you know, before it was like, okay, those are 10s, those are like 8s.
Yeah, okay.
That's like 5, you know, I don't really care. But like, I only keep things that I absolutely love. So now I've really kind of trimmed down, kept a very, very small collection, but everything there, for me, at least in my eyes, like total knockout.
Yeah. And I believe, I mean, the watch is the only kind of accessory, or the main accessory the man can, like,
For
really,
sure.
you know, love. And that's everything. You know, he can wear a t-shirt and just wear a Patek Philippe rose gold, which I love, not the list.
Yeah.
And gold, you know, it like with your dark skin, man, it's stunning with
Thank
the
you.
rose gold.
Thank you.
Have you seen Kevin Hart also? He's like
Oof.
the guy.
No, Kevin Hart's watch collection
Yeah,
is
it's like
something else.
crazy.
No,
Yes.
he's one of the best, like one of the top collectors. So many good collectors.
Yes.
Yeah, but you know, for me, I've really just like trimmed down and now just keep, you know, fewer watches. And it's a very expensive hobby.
Yes, I know. Let's talk about Rolex, because Rolex is the dream and kind of like reward for the young successful person. It's either he's graduated and get gifted, or it's either he, you know, his first job and he wants to install it or buy it, and this watch means a lot to a lot of people. And once we buy it, I mean, if we can afford, we go more into different brands, Patek and AP and these stuff. But just the Rolex, we always go back to the Rolex. So
Rolex is like,
I don't know. I'm doing advertising me.
Yeah, I think so. We better get a Rolex.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Rainbow Daytona, please. Rolex is honestly an enigma if you look at it from just a brand positioning point of view, because they have everything for, you know, your entry level customer at $10,000, and they have watches that go at millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars at auction, and they've been able to manage and cater to such an extended range without compromising
the
brand
positioning
equity.
Exactly.
And it's an anomaly, not just in the watch world, but I think in, you know, any brand. So yeah, well, I mean, what they've done is incredible.
Corona like spiked the prices on I don't know if it affected you positively or negatively. I don't know.
It affected me very negatively.
Why did you
because
sell
my
things?
bank account suffered a lot.
All right.
Because I ended up buying stuff during COVID.
Okay.
You know, and obviously, you know, these things were prices that were unsustainable, and then, you know, they kind of crashed.
But they were always there for us.
Yeah.
You know, why do we love things that disappears and it's like hard to get? I mean, the Rolex store was like there and nobody wanted, but once Corona, I was like, I want a Rolex, I want to buy more and more.
It's just the way that it is, you know. If something, you know, scarcity does nothing but increase demand. So but also what created that scarcity was the amount of millionaires that were being created overnight from crypto, you know, to people that, you know, sold and bought real estate portfolios that were, you know, going up like crazy. So the amount of liquidity in the market in general was huge. So it was a natural economic response to a huge amount of liquidity, which created scarcity because everything was being bought up, and then you know,
and
prices went up.
We trust the gold, we trust the watches more than maybe cash in during these days.
Yeah. You know, so it was a you know, a very normal evolution of things at that time. I bought a lot of watches actually. That was probably the most time I've ever purchased watches, like during COVID. Like I think it was, you know, COVID was such a taxing time, I think, for a lot of us. Even though if you've used it, you know, positively and read books or started a business or had COVID babies or got married, you know, even though you had all of these experiences, but, you know, for the average person, COVID was a very, you know, taxing experience. People were stuck in their home, had uncertainty to, you know, historic levels. You just had no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. Is the world going to return to normal or not? And people just wanted to buy products that made them feel good, you know, so things like watches, you know, even fragrance, you know, fragrance had a huge boom that started, you know, during
COVID. The whole Amazon, you know, like went like crazy, you know, spiked.
Absolutely. Luxury sales boomed during that time. So it was, you know, people were trying to feel good, and you know, it's only normal that you know, watch prices would go as crazy as they, as it is. And only, I spent so much during that time. So much during that time. So yeah, it was very expensive.
Yes, I think COVID changed our life forever, because it's changed our behavior a lot in many ways. The way we meet, the way we communicate, and it affected a small also or a young generation that their behavior, didn't change, and they continued that way. Okay, I'm an entrepreneur, or I only meet by Zoom, or so many things that I don't think we're gonna recover. And maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's not something different. It's a new habit, or maybe this is how it's supposed to be, and we didn't realize until COVID came.
Yeah, I think a lot of interesting things happened during COVID. First of all, people really learned how to work remotely, and people really understood that you don't need to be anywhere in order for you to be productive, because you could be physically somewhere, but if you're not productive and you're not clear on what are the goals that you're trying to achieve, then you're just a physical presence, really. It showed that 90% of physical meetings could be an email. It's shown that 90% of your business trips could just be a Zoom call, and you could save a lot of cost, and you could okay, maybe I'm exaggerating.
Yeah,
90%, but a good chunk,
yes,
right?
And some jobs can be done from home.
Absolutely, and not all jobs, of course. Some jobs, they're important for you to be in the office, but a lot of jobs could be now done remotely. Maybe not fully, but to an extent. But I feel like now everything's kind of turned back into the way that it was before COVID. It's the same pace, it's the same intensity, and I feel like all of the things that have come during COVID are now slowly forgotten. So the only thing that remained is Zoom calls. So now
Zoom
you
calls.
have to do the trip and do a Zoom call. So
do you feel AI is the next thing that's gonna also change our behavior on the short term or long term?
For sure. And
How do you see it?
I am like most people, don't fully understand it, but understand to a basic degree, what could be the effects of AI, and not just AI, but just automation in general. Like if you take a look at, for example, self-driving cars, which are probably going to be a reality in 10 to 15 years. The vast majority of cars are going to be self-driving cars. That is going to create a huge social problem, because anybody that is a driver is now going to lose a job.
Yes.
And ironically, a driver is the most common job in the world. I believe it accounts for something like almost 20% of the global job market. So imagine you have almost 20% of the world that's unemployed.
Yes.
That's going to create an
100%. I mean, I've seen the motorcycle for the delivery, and I've seen a crowd, and I was like, that's not normal. That's not gonna continue like this. I mean, technology-wise. I mean, not as a work-wise, but I've seen, like, I think the automation is gonna start with the delivery first. How can we deliver with the drones or with anything, like remotely, or with the AI-driven cars or whatever. This is gonna start here, and it's a pity as like these people are gonna lose their job,
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's going to be a new normal, and I think then people have to kind of apply their skill sets in different ways, and just rethink the job market completely differently. So you and like everyone else, I have no idea what that's going to look like.
Yeah, but as you mentioned before, that's when you put your back against the wall and try to think what else I can do.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think people will be amazed at how creative they are. Yeah.
Man, it's lovely having you.
Pleasure being here. Honestly, I really enjoyed our conversation.
Same here, man. Same here, really. I mean, the calmness, the maturity, and the creativity, everything you're Heke oozing.
I appreciate it.
Really.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks
you so
for
much.
having me.
Pleasure, sir.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Thank
Ciao.
you. Thank you. That was a cool interview. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. It was a fun experience.
Yeah.